Welcome back. Our next few Spanish Plus units are going to revolve around the preterite tense. But what is the preterite tense? We've been using present tense for a while now, but now the time has come to talk about things that have happened in the past. And that's what the preterite tense is all about. In English, often we have the preterite tense when we add ed to the end of a verb or did in front of it, as in I did sing, as opposed to I sing, I am singing, or I do sing. There can also be spelling changes, as in I sang in English, and we'll cover those both in Spanish and in English as we go forward. So, now we can talk about what you did yesterday. And to do that, we're going to first go back to the verbs we started with, which are the regular AR verbs, but now look at how they work in the preterite tense. As we have always done with conjugation, you take off the infinitive ending, in this case the AR, and you put on the ending that matches the subject. So for yo, in the preterite tense, our ending is now E with an accent mark over it. For tú, aste. For usted, él, and ella, O, again with an accent mark. For nosotros and nosotras, amos. And for ustedes, ellos, and ellas, aron. You might notice that some of these look familiar. What you first have to know is accent marks are extremely important when we're talking about preterite tense conjugations. Look at usted, él, and ella. We've been using O as a conjugation ending for yo for quite a while now. So we know that's a first person singular conjugation ending. But now that it has an accent mark, that tells us that it's in the past tense, and there we are now working third person singular. Did you notice anything else? We have A as an ending for yo. A is all, the letter E, pronounced A of course in Spanish, is used for ER and IR verbs in conjugation, and now it is used for O preterite tense conjugation for AR verbs. Again, the accent mark is very important in this conjugation. And lastly, on things to notice on this first page, is the nosotros and nosotras conjugation, amos. That should look very familiar to you because that is the same ending we have been using for present tense for AR verbs. It is also used for the preterite tense, and it comes down to the context that we are working in for you to know, is it a present or past tense sentence. So let's take a look at some examples. Yo canté. I sang or I did sing. Notice the pronunciation and the accent mark in the written word. Yo canté, not yo cante. You have to put the emphasis on the accented syllable, and you have to make sure to write that accent mark. Tú bailaste. You danced or you did dance. Ella compró. Again, the accent mark has changed both the meaning and the pronunciation of this word, meaning she bought or she did buy. Nosotros usamos. We wore or we did wear. And ustedes ganaron. You all won and you all did win. Looking back again at the nosotros and nosotras conjugation, nosotros usamos could also mean we are wearing or we wear. So you have to know by the context you are using it in. Are you speaking in the present tense or in the preterite? I will stress again the importance of accent marks in these conjugations. We've talked before about accent marks can sometimes change the meaning, they can sometimes change the sound of the word, and sometimes they change both. This is a definite example of when they change both. Present tense, yo compro, I buy, I do buy, or I am buying. The stress when you pronounce the word was on the first syllable, and there's no accent mark on the written word. Yo compro. But in the preterite tense, ella compró, your accent is written on the last O, and you put the emphasis on that last syllable. So you are understood as saying she bought or she did buy. We've talked about stem changing verbs, whether it be E to IE, E to I, O to UE, or U to UE verbs. In the present tense, you have a stem change when you conjugate. That stem change goes away in the preterite tense. So cerrar, an E to IE stem changing verb in the present tense, which would be yo cierro if you're conjugating in the first person, in the preterite becomes yo cerré. No stem change and an accented E as the conjugation ending. Jugar, ellos juegan in the present tense, a U to UE stem changing verb. In the past tense or preterite tense becomes ellos jugaron. So again, no stem change in the preterite tense conjugations. And what would any conjugation be like without some irregularity? So we've got some irregular yo forms in the preterite tense. You have to look at how the word is spelled in the infinitive. If the word ends in a CAR, a GAR, or a ZAR, you have to change the spelling when you conjugate for yo. Sometimes it's so the pronunciation of the word doesn't change, as in the cases of words ending in CAR and GAR. When you conjugate sacar, you want to make sure you are still pronouncing it yo sake, and you need the QU E with the accent as your conjugation to maintain that pronunciation. For jugar, same goes. Yo jugué, GUE, rather than just GE, maintains the pronunciation of the G sound. Yo jugué. So yo sake and yo jugué need the U and need, in the case of sacar, also the Q spelling change to maintain the pronunciation. ZAR changes in the preterite tense are just to conform to regular Spanish spelling rules. So empezar, when you conjugate for yo, you change the Z to a C before you add your E with the accent mark. So please write down those irregular yo forms so you can always spell those correctly. So, do you remember what your endings are? Let's see what we can do. We conjugate for yo with E with the accent mark. For tú, you got it, aste. For usted, él, and ella. O, with a very important accent mark. Nosotros and nosotras. Amos, just like present tense. And ustedes, ellos, and ellas. Aaron. Nice job. So, what 5 rules do you think will summarize everything we do for the preterite tense conjugations? First one, just know your endings. Aste, o, amos, and Aaron. Next rule, can't stress it enough. Accent marks and pronunciation are very important, so you are understood whether you are speaking or writing in the preterite tense. Number 3, nosotros and nosotras. Conjugation stays the same, whether it be present or preterite. Number 4, stem changing verbs do not change. These are AR stem changing verbs in the present tense that do not change in the preterite. And lastly, your irregular yo conjugations for words ending in CAR, GAR, and ZAR in the infinitive. Make sure you have notes on all of those concepts. And lastly, just a little quick practice. Can you conjugate? I looked for the cat. Yo busqué el gato. What was special here? Irregular yo conjugation. Your C in buscar changed to a QU before you put on the E. We bought 2 books. Nosotros compramos 2 libros. What do you remember here? We conjugate for nosotros the same as we do in the present tense when we do it in the preterite. You wash the plates. Number 3. Tú lavaste los platos. Very good. They did close the doors. Ellos cerraron las puertas. Don't forget, no stem change in the preterite tense. And lastly, my dad drank the milk. Mi papá tomó la leche. And don't forget that important accent mark and pronunciation on that last sentence. Great job.